Workplace stress is normal, but excessive stress can determine success or failure on the job, not to mention your personal life. So who can you call for help? Meet our next guest.
We specialize in stress management and pain management services in the comfort and the convenience of the office. So we bring different techniques to help people reduce their stress or manage their relationships at work and at home.
And Tiba, there's no question, work is stressful.
It is.
Sometimes we take it home with us, and that constant demand on you, it's hard to find that relaxation, hard to find that, as they say, balance, which I doesn't think exists. But Mayo Clinic cardiologist Dr. Stephen Kopecky says work stress can negatively impact your mental and physical health, and that includes your heart health. We're going to get more into that, but we have a video we want to show first.
Who hasn't been stressed out at work?
We've all been told to do a million things. We don't have enough time to do any of them and no control over it. That's job strain.
Mayo Clinic's Dr. Stephen Kopecky says urgent pressure to get something done can cause chemical changes that do a number on your heart health.
The first urgency we had a million years ago was to run from the saber-toothed tiger. And so our body said, you know, we need to give this body a lot of sugar, a lot of energy, so this body can run and get away and we can survive till the next time. Well, right now it does the same thing. You get adrenaline, you get cortisol levels, you get sugar that's increased. And if you're running, that's great. But most of us aren't. We're sitting at our desk yelling at somebody on the phone.
These changes can raise cholesterol, which damages arteries and increases risk of heart attack. What can you do about it? Dr. Kopecky says take a 10-minute break. And before bed,
instead of ruminating about all the bad things that happen, think of the good things that happen. That actually has been shown to increase your optimism and lower your risk of a heart attack.
I call it the S word, stress. Okay, so let's get down to basics. What is stress?
So stress is a physical or an emotional response to an outside stimulus that we perceive as a life-threatening situation. What's interesting is that most of the time, you know, we don't have an alligator or a leopard coming at us. We have just somebody on the phone being really angry, or a situation with our spouse or our kids or somebody at work, or even driving on the highway.
Right. Welcome to Miami.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, stress is always going to be there. And actually, our body's response to stress is actually a positive thing.
Right.
We start sweating, our heart rate goes up, and it's just preparing our body to fight or to flee the situation. I think the issue really is not being able to turn that off.
Right.
Because when it's not a life-threatening situation, all of that cortisol, all of those hormones and all of those chemicals in our body that are made to help us flee or fight are wreaking havoc with our nervous system, and
it takes a toll on our body.
It takes a toll on your body.
Right.
And so the challenge really is discharging that stress, is being able to say, oh, okay, you know, nobody's going to kill me.
Right.
This is really not such a bad situation. Let me see what I can do, and helping your body get back to a neutral state.
I mean, and stress is inevitable. I mean, we have stress in life, stress in work, stress at home. But when is stress at work? Because, I mean, let's face it, we spend most of our time at work, and then we go home. But when is stress at work too much?
Too much. I think that when we start seeing physical manifestations of stress, like acne, like psoriasis, like digestive issues, Crohn's, IBS, migraines, eye strain, carpal tunnel, back pain, neck pain, you know, all of those physical manifestations are signs that we're not effectively managing the stress. And then you have the emotional signs, you know, people just breaking out in an anger burst, or panic attacks, anxiety attacks, or, you know, that sort of response is also indicative of too much stress.
It's your body's way of telling you you have to slow down.
Absolutely.
And we have some common causes why people feel stressed out at work. So let's elaborate on these that we're going to see. So any other causes that you might think? Feel free to add them on. But this is a big one, especially in our recent economy, fear of layoffs. People are always, you know, is today going to be the day?
Right.
So can you talk a little bit about these?
Absolutely. I think what's very interesting about this chart is our response, because it's really how we perceive and how we deal with these situations. Layoffs, cutbacks, you know, overtime, deadlines. Those are all external factors.
But they trigger fear.
They do. So the real stressor is our reaction. So fear, anxiety, even, just the actual interpersonal relations,
Right.
Not being able to talk to somebody like your boss or your colleague about something that they asked you
because
to
there's
do.
that fear.
That there's
that
that
if you
fear, or fear of going to see a doctor about something in particular because you think that somebody might find out about it, and
Right.
that may have repercussions in the workplace.
Absolutely, and I feel, I want to bring up that graphic again, because the last one I find it so interesting, which is the lack of control, and that lack of control sort of ties into all the other ones.
Absolutely.
Because you really have no control. But any of these things happen, but as you perfectly put it, it's your reaction.
That's the only thing we have control over, is how we react to what happens around us. And I think also how we react and how we treat ourselves.
Right.
Because one of the things that happens with a lot of this is that fear of not being good enough and not having sufficient skills or sufficient time to get to that deadline,
Right.
et cetera, or to handle whatever situation you have.
Well, now that we've spoken about that, though, where does wellness tie into all this, especially in the workplace?
I love that question. Well, I think wellness is an integral part of our lives. And if we're spending, 10, 12, 13 hours at work, then we really should dedicate some of that time to our well-being too.
Even if it's just 30 minutes.
Absolutely, even if it's just 5 minutes.
Right.
I mean, we have to start with manageable steps.
Dr. Juliet Bento also has some tips to reduce stress. Let's watch.
In our daily lives, just the mere fact of change can lead to a stress in our bodies, and stress can negatively impact our health. The exact mechanism is not known, but thoughts are that a chronic low level of stress can lead to increased levels of stress hormones, like adrenaline and cortisol, which in turn can change or alter the way your blood clots and may in the future lead to heart attacks. In order to minimize stress, I have a few tips for you. Look at the stresses in your life, try to prioritize and apply time management skills. If you can't change the stress, at least change the way you react to it. There are many ways of coping with stress that will be considered healthy. Relaxation techniques, prayer, yoga are all things that you could use to lower the stress in your daily life. Exercise is known to release endorphins that will make you feel better and enhance a positive attitude towards your daily life. Always remember to eat and drink sensibly and don't smoke. Take one thing at a time and try not to get overwhelmed. When you do get overwhelmed, try to go back to the things that you loved before getting stressed. And if you need help dealing with the day-to-day stressors, or you have any questions, just make sure you reach out to your doctor or ask for help.
Great advice from the doctor. Remember, if you have a question, reach out. You can send us an email by visiting our website, allhealthtv.com, or give us a call, 855-796-4475.